In this lesson, we're going to be talking about simple interest. So interest is money that you pay for or that you are paid for investing, or a fee that you pay for borrowing. So when you invest money or you save money, you will earn interest, meaning the bank will pay interest to you. And when you borrow money, you have to pay interest to the bank. Now there's two types of interest. There's simple interest and compound interest. In this lesson, we're going to focus on simple interest. So simple interest is interest that is only paid one time over a term. Usually it's paid annually. So the formula for simple interest is equal to the principal. Principal is the amount of money that you are investing or borrowing, times the rate, which we always need to use in decimal form, times the time, which should be expressed in years. So principal times rate times time. Shortened, I equals PRT. Now, if you want to figure out how much money you're going to have at the end of a term, you can add that interest to what you started with, and that will give you your total. So, in example 1, you deposit $5,000 into a bank account for 3 years, collecting simple interest at 7%. So in this case, it's asking you how much interest would you earn after 3 years. So first, let's figure out what the three variables are. So the principal, P, is the amount of money you started with. So $5,000. The rate is 7%, but we need that as a decimal. So we're going to divide by 100. To get 0.07, and the time is 3 years. So to calculate our interest, we're going to multiply 5,000 times 0.07 times 3. And when you do that, 5,000 times 0.07 times 3, we get $1,050. So that is the amount of interest earned on this investment. So in part B, when it asks how much would your investment be worth after 3 years, you're going to add the principal that you started with plus the interest that you earned. That will give you the total amount of money that you have. So I'm going to add those together, and this gives us $6,050. So altogether in that account, you would have $6,050. In question number 2, it now says you borrow $3,000 from the bank. You borrow $3,000 from the bank, and they're charging you simple interest at 8% per year. If it takes 6 months to repay the loan, how much interest will you be charged? So again, let's start by defining P, R, and T. So the principal, the amount that you're borrowing, is $3,000. The rate that you're being charged is 8%. So again, we're going to change that into a decimal. So 0.08. And the time in this case is 6 months. But remember, in our interest formula, time must be expressed in years. So in order to change months into years, there's 12 months per year. So the time is 6 months out of 12. And if you divide that, that's 0.5. So in order to calculate the interest, we will take the principal times the rate times the time of 0.5, or half of a year. And when we do that, the interest is $120. And the question just asked, how much interest will you be charged? So we just need to calculate interest. We don't need to find the total of the principal plus interest. Now, with this formula, we can also solve everything so far that we've done, we've solved for interest, but you can also solve for either the principal, the rate, or the time. So we use a formula triangle to figure out what we would need to multiply or divide. So I'm going to show you how to do that. In example 3, Nicole deposited $3,000 into a savings account with simple interest at 7% per annum. That just means per year. Calculate the number of days the money was in the account if it earned $240 in interest. So with this one, I'm going to draw out this triangle. So this is our formula. If you've never seen one of these triangles before, things that are beside each other in this triangle get multiplied, and things that are on top of each other get divided. So if you're looking for the number of days, we're looking for time. You can circle that in your triangle, and you'll see you're left with I over PR. So that means that if you were solving for time, you would take the interest and divide it by the principal times the rate. So I'm going to plug these things in. So my interest says that she earned $240. So my time is equal to 240 over the principal was 3,000 and the rate is 7%, but again as a decimal, 0.07. Now be really careful on your calculator when you type this in. You're going to want to put brackets around these two terms on the bottom. So when you type it in, you're going to type 240 divided by, open bracket, 3,000 times 0.07. And when you do that, you get 1.14. Now remember, this formula gives you your time in years. So this is 1.14 years. We need this amount in days. So in order to change this into days, we're going to multiply it by 365. And we get 416.1. I'm going to round it to 416 days. So that's how many days it would take for her to earn $240 in interest. And last but not least, example 4 says Terry borrowed $2,500. It took her 3 years to repay the loan, and she was charged $300 in interest. What interest rate was she charged? So again, if you use your triangle, here we're solving for the rate. So I, P, R, T, we're solving for the rate. So here, I is on top, so the rate will be equal to I divided by P times T. And if I go ahead and plug in these values, the interest earned was 300. The principal was 2,500. And the time was 3 years. Remember, those terms on the bottom you want in brackets. So 300 divided by 2,500 times 3 is 0.04. And remember, that's the decimal. If we times that by 100, we get 4%. So she earned 4%, or she was charged, 4% interest.